And hello, my fabulous students. This is your favorite teacher, Mr. Jacobson. I am especially excited to be with you today. This is the first video of a new series. We will be going over the AP US History curriculum in these videos. I'm excited for all those who've decided to come along with us for this ride. Today we're going to discuss of our first video, the discovery of the New World, and a lot of context that happens before then. So let us begin. Okay, just a few things to really understand. The reason there were people in the Americas when the Spaniards finally come is because most scholars believe that there was a land bridge between Russia and Alaska. So many people from Asia were able to cross over into North America. All the dotted line you see in the map is likely sheets of ice or things like that, or maybe the water level lowered a little bit and there was some land and ice or whatever you call it. But there was the ability to sort of migrate from Asia to North America. They say this could have happened as early as 10,000 BC or as late as 50,000 BCE. Um, anyway, that's the belief that this is how we got people in the Americas, and it was a slow migration throughout the Americas as they populate. You have thousands and thousands of years where people are slowly migrating throughout the Americas and kind of creating their own cultures and way of life and civilizations. So by 1491, it is believed that 50 to 1 million, 100 million people lived in the Americas um, prior to the Spaniards coming. Now we have a few cultures that are important to understand. These are probably some of the largest of the cultures when the Spaniards came and discovered the Americas. You have the Mayan culture, and they are going to be between 300 800 CE is when their height or their zenith was. They created these amazing, remarkable cities all throughout the Yucatan area. That's the dark green area here. Uh, you have massive, amazing cities with the famous, iconic step pyramids that a lot of people still show pictures, or if you go on like a cruise to the Gulf of Mexico, it's likely you're going to hit some of these cities because they're just so iconic. So you got major cities like Tikal, Palenque, and Chichen Itza are just some of the few cities that were um, powerful city states of the mighty Mayan nation. And then you have the Aztecs who came much later after the decline of the Mayans. So the purple area is the central Mexico region. And you have the Aztecs. This was a warrior civilization. They had a strong human sacrifice culture. And they would go to battle against their enemies. They would capture POWs or prisoners of war, and they would sacrifice them to their gods, and they would have to keep going to war to get more POWs to sacrifice to keep in power the priests who were perpetuating this and didn't want to give up any of their power or position in that society. You also have the Inca. Was this massive empire in South America, so it's not on this map here, and they were high up in the Andean mountain region. The main central hub would be like the Peru region today, um, and then you have major staple foods. In the Inca, potatoes were like the staple food. And then in the Aztec Mayan region, you have maize or corn. In the pre-Columbian North America, uh, I want you to understand that these are all the different regions of the North America that we have Native Americans that kind of lived in. And they're all different regions because each region came with different characteristics due to the environment that they were in. And the environment is going to shape the way they conduct themselves and live. And this is really important to understand that in AP, whenever you take an AP history course, every time there's going to be a theme known as the environment, and they want you to be able to look at a group of people and say, how did their environment shape them? And so we have, like in the southwest area, that's going to be a very hot, deserty area. So people are going to be acting very different than as if they were in the northeast, where it's colder, it's wooded, lots of forest, lots of water with the Great Lakes. And so it's really important to understand that. So in the southwest, Arizona, New Mexico region, you got the Hohokam, you got the Anasazi, and you got the Pueblo. Pueblo people become pretty important because there's a Pueblo revolt against the Spanish. And we'll talk more about that. It's also something that's mentioned in AP World History. And then you have the Northeast settlements here. Okay, so way up here, and one of the major cultures was the Adena Hopewell, and these were people that were known for building large mounds. These mounds can still be you can visit these mounds, even go in some of them, in places like Illinois, Ohio, even as far as New York. Um, they built these crazy, amazing mounds, and they also built very large what they call long houses. You're looking at like 200 feet long, where they would live almost like a communal family. It'd be like family and extended family. Uh, you have in the Adena Hopewell society, they were matrilineal, meaning that they trace their genealogy through the mother, not the father, and that's not super uncommon. I mean, there's a lot of other places throughout history where they're matrilineal as well. Sub-Saharan Africa was one of those, uh, but it's also just a unique characteristic. And then also within the Northeast region, you have the Seneca, the Cayuga, the Onondaga, the Oneida, the Mohawk, the Tuscarora. All these are different Native American tribes, and they sort of all unite together to form the Iroquois Confederation. So that you have these agreements happening between tribes where they kind of band together because they have a shared belief system, whatever that is. Maybe it's free trade, or maybe it's in a god, or whatever. But that sort of unites them together as a united people, despite their differences. And this is all going on before the Spaniards come. And then we have some factors that sort of lead to the discovery of America. Number one, we have new technologies that are being coming over from Asia to Europe. You got the compass, you got gunpowder, you got the printing press. You also have Prince Henry the Navigator opens up his famous school of navigation in Portugal, and they start mapping out the coast of Africa, and eventually they're going to discover that Africa doesn't go all the way down to the edge of the world, but you can actually get around the southern tip of Africa. And not only that, you can get around the southern tip of Africa, get to the Indian Ocean, and even make it all the way to India. And so that's all going to get discovered around the same time as well. And then you have religious conflicts that are happening in Spain, in the Iberian Peninsula, which is modern day Spain and Portugal. That was conquered by Muslims. Gosh, I'd say around 750, 800 CE. And so for hundreds of years, Muslims were uh, in control of that region. And so for hundreds of years, you have this slow reconquering happening, from the Christians against the Muslims, and Reconquista is finally going to sort of come somewhat to an end. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella will be victorious in expelling any Muslim type government from the Iberian Peninsula. And because they're able to do that, they were also able to fund Christopher Columbus when he pitched the idea to journey west or to sail west to find a new route to Asia. So it's kind of interesting because it makes you kind of wonder, how would history might have been different had Reconquista not been concluded and they were still fighting and trying to expel the Muslims from the Iberian Peninsula when Christopher Columbus came with this idea. Anyway, just food for thought. And then you got the Protestant Reformation, which is going to break out in 1500s with Martin Luther. And then we're going to have the Americas kind of be disputed between Spain and Portugal. Obviously, Spain's going to be the first to find the Americas, and then between Europe in that time period, and then Portugal is not going to be too far behind them. They're going to get wind of what's going on here, and so by 1493, you kind of have this dispute where Portugal's saying, "Well, what's ours? What's yours?" And anyway, they're going to get the Pope involved, from the Catholic Pope in Rome. And the Pope is going to draw a line. And it's going to be, if you look at this map, it's the first line right here where my cursor is. That's the first line of demarcation of 1493. And basically, the Pope said, okay, so Spain gets everything west of the line, Portugal gets everything east of the line. And that didn't fly so well. So in 1494, Spain and Portugal finally, I mean, look at this line. Okay, they didn't get much out of this, Portugal. So Spain and Portugal are going to move that line a few degrees west, and this is going to be the new line of demarcation of 1494. And so Portugal will get this land that jettisons out into the Atlantic Ocean, known as Brazil, and then everything west will be considered Spain's. And then this will be signed into an agreement known as the Treaty of Tordesillas. And then you're going to have French and English people wanting a claim as well. In England in the 1500s, you have John Cabot, who was an Italian sailor, but he sailed under contract for England, and he's going to explore the coast of Newfoundland, which is in modern day Canada. And then you're also going to have Sir Walter Raleigh, who's going to attempt to establish a settlement that will fail, unfortunately, at Roanoke Island. It's kind of a sad story, but they settled at Roanoke, and then you have just, I mean, people aren't familiar with the terrain. It's cold. They're starving. They went back to get more supplies from England, and then they were deterred and they tried to come. It's just a sad story, but the people just sort of died off or even mysteriously disappeared from other settlements in that region as well. So the first attempts by the English to try to settle in the Americas wasn't successful. This isn't Virginia yet, okay? Virginia will be the first successful settlement at Jamestown. And then France is going to also try to claim like like New York region, mainly because you have Jacques Cartier. He's going to be the main explorer of the St. Lawrence River, um, and that's going to be the area of New York, and so France is going to kind of think that they sort of have a claim there. So anyway, so that's kind of how we shape up so far with discovery of the New World, and we're going to continue on to this amazing journey together. I look forward to visiting with you the next time. Until then, goodbye.